Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're in the kitchen again today, and today we're going to make soft-sided biscuits. These are biscuits that are baked in a pan instead of individually on a cookie sheet. Now, the benefit of these biscuits is they rise really well because they have the structure of the pan and they touch each other, so they have the structure of each other. So they rise upward really well. They don't spread at all because you simply don't let them spread. Now, the downside is these take a little bit longer to cook because there's no heat moving amongst the different biscuits because they're all in a pan, all squished together. So let's get started. These are still delicious. They're fantastic. They're just a little different. So you're going to need either an 8 or a 9-inch square cake pan, and then you're going to need some cooking spray. I'm just using a canola oil cooking spray. So the best way to do this is to make sure... Okay, I'm imagining things? Yeah, there's nothing in there. Never mind, it's fine. It's just shadow, and I'm like, dump the shadow out. You can't dump a shadow out. Anyway, so you take your cooking spray, and you spray your pan fairly well. You don't want this sticking. There we go. Pretty well. So then we're just going to set this aside because we won't need it for a few minutes. Next up, you are going to need half a cup of butter, margarine, or shortening. They're interchangeable in this recipe, really. It'll just change the taste of your biscuits just a little bit. It's really not that big a deal. So you're going to need that. You're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then you're going to take a fork or a pastry cutter and just kind of cut the margarine or the butter or the shortening, whatever you're using, into your butter so it's kind of a little bit lumpy. Okay, you want it kind of crumbly and lumpy, and what we normally don't want in a bread dough, you do want in a biscuit dough. So a little bit like that, okay? Very much like this. After that, you want to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Baking powder is what gives these biscuits their oomph. So you need baking powder so that they rise. Kind of twirl that in. And a half teaspoon of salt. Now, I'm using Himalayan salt. You can use any salt you like. Table salt, kosher, really doesn't matter. I'm using Himalayan because it's what I have, and it's what we really like. So mix that in. Your final ingredient, whiskey, we do not need to bark. Sorry. The final ingredient is 3/4 of a cup of milk. Pour that in. Now, while you're mixing, what you might want to do is heat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, just so that it is really well preheated. 450, I know, sounds high, but it's important to go that high simply because biscuits need to cook at a high temperature, otherwise the insides don't cook. So if you haven't made biscuits before, I know 450 sounds high, but trust me, it needs to go to 450. When it looks about like that, we're going to switch to our hands, okay? So we can get rid of all of that. So you're just going to get in there with your hands. There we go. And we're just going to keep mixing, squeezing. You don't have to knead biscuit dough. We're just mixing it together. Okay, so we're just going to get in here, squeeze and mix our dough together until it really is a dough. So you don't want to miss any of these scraggly bits at the bottom. So get them up and mix them into your dough. Okay. There we go. It's looking pretty good. So remember, you want your dough to adhere to itself. Okay? Sleeves getting in my way. Wear shorter sleeves than I am. So this is easiest to do by hand. I've had people ask me, can you do biscuit dough in a bread maker? Yeah, but it takes a lot longer in the bread maker than it actually takes in real life because you don't have to do any kneading or anything. You're just basically doing some mixing. So it's actually faster to do this by hand than using a mixer or anything. So that's looking pretty good. Get rid of the bowl. That's our dough. That's what it should look like, okay? We're going to bring back our pan, and we're going to just kind of work our dough into kind of a square that's going to fit in there, but you want it to be equal thickness, okay? So you don't want kind of a fat spot over here and a thin spot over there, and you want it to be the same thickness throughout. Okay, so just kind of push it. If your edges are thinner, we're going to fix that in a sec. So I know my edges look thinner, but what I'm doing is deliberately making it bigger than my pan, and then I'm pressing it back, so then my edges get thicker again. Okay. So now we're going to pick this guy up. That's my oven preheated. Flip him over and press him into the pan. Okay? Press him into the pan. Try to make sure he's got roughly the same depth. Now, obviously, we're not making one giant biscuit. This is where this thing comes in. This is a dough scraper. Now, a metal dough scraper is an essential tool in something like this. So I'm going to put a link to one of these, probably on Amazon because everyone has access. But this guy, he's really essential. This is hard to do with a knife because the edges of your pan are going to get in the way. Now, he has the benefit of being able to go straight down. So what I'm going to do is cut this into 9. Okay, so then what we do is we're going to go 1/3 of the way, push straight down, lift straight up. Okay, don't twist. There we go. And then do it again. So we end up with 9 biscuits. And no dough, no cutters required, no cookie cutters, no rolling out. That is it. So now we're going to throw this in the oven. You want to bake it for 12 to 15 minutes. I know some biscuits are done in 8 minutes. These will take at least 12 because, again, the heat is not circulating between the biscuits. It's one big thing. So at least 12 minutes, maybe as many as 15. We'll be back as soon as they're baked. And there you have it. Here are our soft-sided biscuits. Now they baked for a full 15 minutes and we've let them cool for about 6 or 7 minutes in the pan. I'm just going to flip those out and then you just break them off. There we go. Gently break them apart. Excuse me. And there you go. Break them apart gently, just a little pressure. Don't try to flip the whole thing over because what will happen is they'll completely break. So break them off and flip one at a time. Okay, just like that. But just like this, you have 9 soft-sided, delicious biscuits. So let's take this middle one so you can see that it's cooked. And we'll just pull it apart. Nicely cooked on the inside. It's perfect. Smear a little butter on there and it'll be just delicious. So thanks for joining us here, and I hope you liked making soft-sided biscuits with us. Do try this at home. It's really one of the easiest ways to make biscuits. It requires no biscuit cutters, really nothing except your dough scraper and a square pan. That's all you need to make these biscuits. So hopefully you'll do it at home. We'll see you tomorrow.